Hi, it's Roberta with Quilt Crafters Corner. Today I'm going to do a block for you. This is called Broken Wheel Variation. And this requires a little bit of fussy cutting in order to get your center square and your four corners right. So let me show you how to do that. So here is the block here, and as you can see, I fussy cut the center and then these four corners. And these are a block and a block, or a square and a square for your four corners. So let's take a look at this. It starts with a 6.5 inch square, and here's your center square that I have fussy cut with a pattern that I like. The next thing is we have 2 by 6.5 inch strips, and these are going to go on each side of this. So there are your, okay, and then the next thing we have is the same thing again with our alternate fabric, and it's going to be the same thing, 2 by 6.5. So those I will take to my machine and I will sew those with just a simple scant 1/4 inch seam. I'll take these to the machine and I'll do a simple scant 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so I have finished sewing these with a scant 1/4 inch seam. I've pressed to the darker fabric, and I will just place those. Like so. Okay, now let's talk about our four corners. Now our four corners consist of a 3.5 inch square that I have fussy cut so that I have a nice little medallion that kind of goes with my center. So this is done with 2 inch squares. Now because I have directional fabric and I want to make sure that they're all going in the same direction as these are, I need to be careful about my placement. So what I'll do is I'll put it on there and then flip it up and make sure, okay, that's the direction I want the directional fabric to go. So now I'll put that there, and what I'll do is I'll draw a line from my point, my corner to corner, so that I have a line to guide my when I sew. Now when I sew, I'm going to sew just this side of the line, the part that's going to get cut off, because this is going to get flipped over and ironed down. So I just want to sew right on this side of that line. So let's get the other one. And same thing, I'm just going to sew just a hair, or excuse me, a thread off of that line on this side, the part that's going to be cut off. And so all of my directional fabric will be going in the same direction. All right, I have sewn my seam here and here, and now what I need to do is I need to cut these corners off. So I'm going to line my 1/4 inch seam here on my line, on my 1/4 inch line, and then I'm just going to cut those corners off. Okay, so now I have 2 of my 4 corners on, as you can see. So what I need to do now is I need to press this really good so that these lay flat so I can put my other 2 corners on. So I'll take this to my iron and I will press this. I might even spray this with a little bit of spray starch just to help it stay down so I have a nice flat surface to work with. Okay, as you can see, I've got that iron now and they're nice and flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my last two 2-inch squares, and I need to make sure that I've got my directional fabric going in the same direction. So I just want to make sure that they're all going in the same direction. Perfect. Okay, now what I will do is once again, I will draw my line from the corner to corner. All right, I've got my lines on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to the machine and I will sew just right on a thread off of this line here and on here. And when you put these on, make sure that everything's lined up, that your points here are lined up and everything's straight. Otherwise, they'll come out a little crooked. So make sure that your points are lined up and everything touches so that you get that nice square and a square. So I will take this to the machine and I will sew those two seams. Okay, so I have finished my two seams. So what I need to do now is I need to cut off these 2 points. And with my ruler, I'm going to use my 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to lay that right on the seam and trim. And the same thing on this side and trim. So those will go away. And now what I need to do is that once again, I need to take this to my iron and I need to give this a good press so that it stays nice and flat. And like I said, starch is a really good option to get, especially these to lay flat. So I will take that to my iron and I will press these really good. Okay, so here are my 4 corners, and as you can see, they're all exactly the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check them. Make sure that they're 3.5 inches, that's what they're supposed to be, and that I don't have any extra little edges, and if I do, just trim them up, because you want these to be nice and straight. If they're not, they don't go in real nice, and you do want these all to be straight. So, and you can place these any way you like. You can place them this way, or you can, so, got that one that way. It just, you know, you can put, like I said, you can place them any way you like. You can place them all that way, or you can change them all around and place them this way. And the same with your center piece that you've cut, that you've fussy cut. So now what I'll do is I will sew these pieces together. So I will take this to my machine now and I will sew these together, and I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm going to add this row onto my other rows, and I will take that to the machine and sew it now. Okay, I've attached my rows together. I've got my top one, my middle one, and then this one, my last one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and just flip them like this and then go sew them together. And what I have done is I pressed my seams in one direction on the center and then the opposite direction for the top row and for the bottom row. So that way all of my seams are nesting really nicely and I know my corners will meet. So I will take that to the machine and sew that. And there is broken wheel variation. So I want to thank you all for joining me. I'd love to see your blocks and come join the swarm on Facebook. So thank you all, and I will see you again soon.